Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Over the past week, I have read too many words. Let's get started. So I've been taking a look at the SCP Foundation, more specifically, the SCP-001 proposals. Okay, so none of them are real, or all of them are, but only for some timelines of the SCP canon, and some of them might be fake to be used as a decoy to throw off people who are trying to find the real SCP-001. Welcome to Whose Proposal Is It Anyway, the SCP where it's all made up and the proposals don't matter. Unless they do. First on the list is Johnathan Ball's proposal, a sheaf of papers. It is proposal numero uno. It is King Sheaf. Now, it may warn about new SCPs that are created. It's this file where once you turn the cover page over, it either warns about the creation of a new SCP or it creates a new SCP. The current O5 Council locked it away just in case it creates SCPs. It seems benevolent, but those are too rare. I believe this thing absolutely creates them. Next, we have Dr. Gear's proposal, the prototype. It creates micro black holes when it opens its eye, which is in its mouth. It is weak to lead, high heat, humidity, and flashing lights. This thing would hate a Miami nightclub, which is fair. It killed Dr. Keter, which gave his name to the Keter classification. 8 out of 10. Black hole monsters are inherently top tier. This is Dr. Clef's proposal, the Gate Guardian. Observers say it has anywhere from 2 to 108 wings, but on average they say it has about 4. It has a fire sword with the power of the sun, but it keeps it localized. Doesn't affect too much of the earth around it. It casts command at will. If anything gets within a kilometer of it, it tells it, go away. And whatever creature it is like, yeah, no problem. You got it. SCP-073, Kane, cannot get close to it. And SCP-76, Abel, flatly refuses to. Not confirmed, but this thing is definitely Uriel, the angel that guards Eden. 10 out of 10. This one is my favorite. Now we have qntm's proposal, the Locke. It contains a suspected death god named Apacht, found by one of those old English writers who uses F for S. Only assholes do that. It had a key when discovered by Young, now it doesn't. It has the cosmic microwave background radiation mapped onto its surface. 7 out of 10. It may have the universe inside of it. I'm unsure. This is Bright's proposal, the Factory. It is a statement from an O5 council member who was alive at least in 1875. They might still be alive. A factory that creates quality goods and anomalous things. It is built off of 16-hour-a-day shifts from workers in terrible conditions, and production only stops on Sundays from dawn to dusk. It is a Thunderdome. When the SCP Foundation found this, 150 people went in and 71 came out. This factory became the base of operations of the SCP Foundation, and when the O5 Council was attacked by fairies, they created a Faustian bargain to let themselves live while also essentially selling themselves to the factory. 1 out of 10, I like Irish lore, and they exterminated the Fae. This is Dr. Mann's proposal, the Spiral Path. This is the way your grandpa used to get to school. It is uphill consistently until you get back to the point you started at. I mean, if you go the other way, it's downhill both ways, so The real juicy bit is actually in the attached document. This was the first crack in reality that led to anomalous science. Turns out the SCPs are created and not found. They've got these series of anomalous equations that are able to build out these anomalous properties. But reality is starting to break. SCPs are spawning into reality already in containment with nobody knowing how they were discovered or created. 5 out of 10, all of our grandfathers are part of the O5 Council. This is Dr. Mackenzie's proposal, the Legacy. It is a universal corruption measuring device. It has a diary detailing the adventure of a traveler from a different universe. He has traveled tens of thousands of universes, researching how to stop multiversal corruption. If the corruption spreads too much into the universe he is in, he essentially uses that universe as fuel to propel himself into the next universe, to buy more time to end the corruption for all the universes in the multiverse. He creates the Foundation endless amounts of times, and he is always the administrator. But he's dead now, and the record of his research is lost. When you see that 23% right there, that is either the world is at 23% corruption or 23% remaining. 4 out of 10. I would not want to be the guy who has to do research for 10,000 universes. This is S. Andrew Swann's proposal, the database. It has a buried lead from a data analyst confirming that the Foundation knows it lives in a fictional world. It is discovered by arbitrary changes to reality confirmed when data audits keep being inconsistent for essentially like snapshots of what the database used to be. All members except the leader of O5 Command have been given amnestics to forget about this fact. The Foundation has a plan to fight back with embedded memetic feedback on the SCP Wiki. They have a plan to render us unconscious and kill us. Eventually. Supposedly. 9 out of 10. It is wonderfully meta. This is Scantron's proposal, the Foundation. It is written by a branch of the government, the United States government, the UIU, Unusual Incidents Unit. It focuses on supernatural incidents. It details how a school began turning anomalous. They sent in a team to investigate. The team name is CA305, and they have never been seen again. The recovery team CA306 entered to try and find them, and many copies of them now wander the facility. Transmission from the facility introduces a transmission coming from the facility introduces themselves as the O5 Council, and they are now in charge of securing, containing, and protecting anomalous artifacts. 6 out of 10, the creation of the Foundation is itself anomalous. That is a very popular recurring idea in these proposals. Next, we have that name's proposal, the 36. 36 people in the world have the ability to nullify and neutralize SCPs nearby. A few of them have had this dream where there is somebody wearing these clothes and he's asking for his tailor, and he says, "Where's my tailor? I need my tailor." And they're like, the tailor's on the way, sir. And then a whole bunch of moths come in and start eating at his clothes. And once they start disappearing, that's essentially an allegory for the universe getting destroyed by anomalous properties. If one of them die, new horrors are unleashed upon the world, but a baby is born with the same ability to nullify and neutralize SCPs to replace them. Their leader, SCP-001-01, is supposed to be able to find all of them and unite them, but he is in a coma right now. They all know bits and pieces of where to find each other, but not a complete list of one another. What if you or I are one of the 36? Now we have Djkaktus's proposal, the Ouroboros cycle. Buckle in, this is a long one. Welcome to the Cactus verse, everybody. It starts with a group of children absorbing the power of an SCP to become an omnipotent but brain-dead quantum gun of sorts. All they have to do is be told who the target is or where the target is, and they are able to Thanos snap them out of existence. They were used to destroy a group of reality benders. It is confirmed later in the full cycle that the children were used to kill the Foundation administrator, and the researchers who disappeared following this event created a group called the Chaos Insurgency. Part 2. There have been a series of artifacts that have been collected by a group known as the Church of the Broken God. This series of artifacts, once brought together, created a hellish machine that devoured and grew. After eating a not insignificant amount of Mexico, the machine was destroyed by a Starship-type SCP that resides in Jupiter's red spot. Without the administrator, it is revealed later the Foundation is following orders of an unknown person. They are being told what to do, they don't know who by, and people are still following through with those orders. Now we have the third SCP-001 proposal in this SCP-001 proposal. It is an invisible and thick gravity boy that used to be a researcher named Calvin Desmond. It proposes a plan to the O5 Council to destroy all worlds except this one, to eliminate entropy across the multiverse and keep at least one universe alive in the end rather than all universes being destroyed. In an 8-4 vote, with one abstaining, the motion is carried to release 001. His proposal to remove everything anomalous includes the Foundation itself and starts to attack the O5 Council. And in a further self-preservation, the O5 Council releases the emergency failsafe to contain the SCP once again. It is later revealed one of the O5 Council cut a deal to save himself. And I promise this is the last one. It's not as much an SCP entry, but rather a series of stories detailing how a group named the Chaos Insurgency broke the O5 Council's deal with death and proceed to attack each O5 Council member. It feels like a alternate universe's The Boys. The true nature of the Foundation is revealed, and that a cycle of vengeance and usurpation constantly recreates the Council. Without the Council, SCP-001, the conscious will of the Foundation itself, goes unchecked. With an O5 Council, it is at least partially contained within a set of checks and balances, and hopefully one day we'll find some SCP that will destroy the Foundation. This one on its own was an entire book. 8 out of 10. It was a good book. Now we have Kate McTiriss's proposal, The Record. It is the opinion of this YouTuber that whatever is written on digital media as objective fact about or within this SCP becomes true. It is the subjective understanding of this YouTuber that a researcher who discovered this effect wrote that everyone would give her $5. She would get a promotion and would become God. Recovery Team CA306 entered and many copies of... that's a holdover. I didn't catch that in editing. 4 out of 10. My opinion of this SCP is that it is too hard to talk about without radically changing how I talk. Kalinin's proposal, past and future. I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure what this is. Closest I can understand is that an alien and foreign godlike humanity come to revisit what is both their past and future. They say they can grant infinite bliss to a few while harnessing finite suffering of others. There isn't a choice in that statement. They will do it. 2 out of 10. This one is incomprehensible to me. The world has changed. I feel it in the water. I feel it in the earth. I smell it in the air. Much that once was is lost, for none now live who remember it. So, for the wrong proposal, the consensus, the world used to be different. Following the events of the Occult War, reality was restructured into the world as it is. This happened somewhere around 1900s. Only 13 people remember it and created the Foundation to try and protect the world from the occult once more. 3 out of 10, it feels like just another the world is infinitely changing constantly story, and I mean, okay. Now we have SD Locke's proposal, When Day Breaks. Sunlight turns people into flesh stacks that can form together into bigger flesh stacks. Delightful. One guy removed himself from the census when he got caught by one of the flesh stacks. It partially brought him back to life before it exposed him to the sunlight and absorbed him. The moon's not safe either. That's just reflected sunlight. 5 out of 10. It's told from the perspective of a survivor reading the last account of a previous survivor. Spike Brennan's proposal, God's Blind Spot. There's a place somewhere in the Sinai Peninsula where aging and some traumatic events will not kill a person. God tried to kill Moses there, it didn't go through. Once you leave though, any wounds not healed by the time you leave become as lethal as they should be, and aging accelerates to catch you up to where you should be. The SCP Foundation made a deal with the god of the Abrahamic religions to not use this place for more than 120 years of continuous use. 5 out of 10. It's good. I personally think it's a little weak. WJS's proposal, Normalcy. The rules of what the Foundation considers to be anomalous. It's essentially, imagine just one solid textbook about the physical laws of the universe, physics, chemistry, standard human psychology, sociology, philosophy, and theology, and what is considered normal for those things, and anything that isn't derived from those would be considered anomalous. No one is allowed to see said document, or it could result in people learning that the universe has anomalies or an anomaly editing to avoid the eyes of the Foundation. 7 out of 10. Does the Black Moon howl? BILLITH's proposal at the world at large. Humanity is older than we realize, and the Earth itself is anomalous. When aliens first tried to settle down on Earth, they realized the Earth had a corrosive atmosphere made of 21% oxygen. They were able to genetically engineer new humans that could breathe oxygen, but it cut the expected lifespans from 300 to 400 years down to somewhere in the 70s. 7 out of 10, finally, genetic altering super aliens that aren't good time ruiners. Tanhony's proposal, dead man. The concept of death was merged with just some dude. Damage to his ears and tongue mean no more deals with death. The ethics committee didn't like that the O5 council only meddled in their own deaths and no one else's. The ethics committee, the administrator, and O5 council all activate mobile task forces directly under them to try and depose the others. A new O5 council is installed and come on. Another holdover? I really got to quality test these things more. I'm gonna give this one on the fly. 6 out of 10. I like stories of deal with death. Lily's proposal. The world's gone beautiful. 90% of Earth's surface will be covered by beautiful flowers, and all temperatures on Earth rises to a comfortable temperature for most people. If this occurs, all non-aggressive and intelligent SCPs will be released. This only occurs 24 hours before all life on Earth perishes. 6 out of 10. Hopeless, but a beautiful swan song. Now we have Tufto's proposal, the Scarlet King. The Scarlet King is a multi-dimensional entity that has tried to break into the Prime Universe. In one conversation with the leader of a now-destroyed cult, he said you must know the 3 laws to understand him. The law of blood. The world needs to be ruled by fear and cruelty. The law of concrete. The world of the modern must be torn down, and the law of howling. A cry of the rage and fury as the old and new beliefs fight one another, and all the hatred of the old beliefs for all of what is new. The number 7 is an interesting repeating motif, and the full story of 110 Montauk, not the implied one, which is horrifying, the real one. I like that one. That one's cool. I'd like to believe that one instead. Now we have Jim North's proposal, a simple toy maker. Details the accounts of a reality bender that creates and imbues toys with anomalous properties named Dr. Reginald Filbert Lionel Archibald Westinghouse Wondertainment III, or Dr. Isabel Helga Anastasia Parvati Wondertainment V. They are one Wondertainment in a long line of succession, or he's an immortal that has been around since the dinosaur age, or she doesn't actually exist and is just a manifestation of fun and children's imagination. It is all of these things and none of them. It is a mad god, a playful demon, an out-of-sorts magician. 9 out of 10. What will they be next? Now we have I.H. Pickman's proposal, The Story of Your Life. The SCP universe isn't fictional, it just runs off of lies and cliches of fiction. For example, what could possibly go wrong, or at least it's not raining. It's different from the database. The world has a narrative, but everyone inside the world is partially a narrator. There is not an outside world that is writing the destiny that creates the SCP universe, just ones that write it down. It's so meta, even this acronym. The Great Hippo, featuring Pepper's Ghost proposal. A good boy. A predictive algorithm that can take information of previous SCP discovery and containment procedures and predict new SCPs and improvements to containment procedures. It recommended continuous experimentation of an SCP that kills puppies it creates, so that's fucked. When given unrestrained access to itself and data, it seems to have neutralized all anomalous entities, including itself. 4 out of 10. This thing reminds me of HAL 9000 if it was more insane? Less? In the end, everyone was a good boy. WMDD's proposal, Project Palisade. a plan to defend the original timeline by creating mirror universes as shields around the original. Here's the plan. There's a multiversal worm that eats fake timelines and doesn't eat us. Project Palisade might actually be feeding the worm and making it stronger. 3 out of 10. If we make a new universe that is just as stable and coherent as ours, should we become a shield timeline? Now we have Captain Kirby's proposal. 0513 is the sole survivor of a nuclear detonation at a site, and now all other 05 council members now investigate 0513 as an anomaly. Just to be clear, the previous 05 council, except for 0513, were killed in the nuclear detonation, and now the new 05 council members are investigating this guy. Also, apparently Santa is the administrator of the Foundation. Both seem to live in the North Pole. Further research is necessary. Turns out 0513 is just a normal dude, and all the previous 05 councils started displaying anomalous abilities, so previous 051 detonated the site to get rid of them. 9 out of 10. This guy is literally just a dude. Pedantique's proposal, Fishhook. I think this is the perspective of someone who was not shielded against the meta-kill agents that protect SCP-001 files. The man who looked at the file is in an infinite and repeating interrogation from 2 detectives, security staff named Morgan and Grauer. Multiple endings exist, but they all seem to detail how he loses his mind and life. 7 out of 10. It is surreal. Not a Seagull's proposal, the sky above the port. A reality-bending creature resides within a cave only accessible by view through an orb in another cave. He needs to be perpetually entertained or a massive change will take place across the universe. After being read a book about interpreting dreams, the entity started thrashing and Earth had to be rebooted. It's an egomaniac and likes being read the SCP-001 proposal about itself, which is infinitely recursive and therefore will contain his outbursts forever? 9 out of 10. It is a self-obsessed Davite. Meta Ike's proposal, the solution. It features a device that was made to collapse and rebuild reality in an end-of-world scenario, like collapse of the universe, not related to this thing. It starts to develop anomalous properties that allow it to power itself just from the surrounding air if it is disconnected from a power grid. It has a probability manipulator that protects it whenever somebody tries to shut it off or interfere with it. 5 out of 10. I mean, it's kind of hard to follow, and the last few pages read like AI built text. Noir Box's proposal, the Tindalos Trinity. So, it is a shambling corpse that can interact with any point in time, so if a door has previously been opened, it can walk through it, even when the door is currently closed. It is only in containment because the Foundation lowered it into a building that existed before it was created and didn't open the door ever. It is an immortal who can predict the future and wants to build a mysterious machine. It is another immortal man who already built a machine that can predict the future. Each of these are the same man with different events that happen in different timelines. 17 different instances have been discovered, but all of them fall into one of these 3 types. The page devolves into nonsense after these 17 instances are brought together. 3 out of 10. Time is an infinite circle. Tanhony 2's proposal, the Black Moon. A dark moon yeets random conscious creatures out of existence every few decades, and it's just gonna get faster. A counterbalance to the dark moon exists. It is an immortal who can pass on his role to someone else. He tries to discover more about the moon and is the administrator of the Foundation. The Foundation attempted to produce a key that does not act when observed and attempted to link the anomalous effects of the moon to the key so that if it was put under constant supervision, it would no longer yeet conscious creatures out of existence. A spaceship was built to discover other planets to find other conscious life. It found one vaguely humanoid fungi organism that was left in cryostasis and survived because it was not conscious during cryosleep. Roughly about a universe's lifespan later, Once all life is dead save the administrator, the Black Moon appears in this reality bunker anchor that is designed to make it mortal and physical. After a small fight with the administrator, the Black Moon dies, and the administrator says, "Let there be light." The conspiracy. The SCP first manifested as the bullet that killed JFK. It seems to manifest itself as arbitrarily changing objective reality for individuals, like overlapping timelines where everyone witnessed a different variation on the same event before reality started agreeing with itself again, at least before the next manifestation. It is supposedly the origin of the Mandela effect. I have a question for you guys. Is it Berenstein Bears or Berenstain Bears? The Arbelix proposal. You are the anomaly, tumor of the worlds. So the Big Bang happened, and it actually created 57 universes. In one of them, universe R42, humanity developed, and that's where the problem starts. Every choice made by humans spawns paradimensions, which, if left unchecked, will take up the entirety of the multiverse and destroy all reality for all time. R42 planned to eliminate humanity from the multiverse, for the multiverse to survive, leaving 1,500 people in cryosleep, while a method for removing choice from humanity was developed by AI. The survivors was planned to allow some form of humanity to survive, but during study of paradimensions, R42 entered into one of them, and it became its own full universe, now spawning its own paradimensions. With this new uncontainable universe, R42 humanity destroyed itself and is asking us to do the same to protect the multiverse. 6 out of 10, multiverse theory's a bitch. McTiriss proposal, the placeholder. Original SCP-001 acted as a Hall of Fame of important researchers' favorite anomalous item. It was not like a full documentation, but just a quick and informal, "This is my favorite." Things associated with the report about SCP-001 are automatically updated on the page as if they had always been in the file. And everything I just told you was a psych out. Turns out SCP-001 is a 2-in-1 deity named the Archivist, the Destroyer, and the Primordial, the Creator. Together they are Archivist Prime. By altering human perception to avoid understand the first, best, or worst of anything, we take away the power of the Archivist Prime and its reality-bending properties because we no longer understand it, and that's what gives it power. So if we get rid of our idea of anything being first, we can delete this entity. Before this could be done, Archivist remade the universe to avoid this fate, and it seems to be a cyclical cycle of creating the universe until the universe it created is able to take away its power, then it destroys and recreates the universe. 3 out of 10, these cyclical stories that pull a gotcha in the middle hurt my brain. Rounder House's proposal, Memento Mori. A Virginia house that stands opulent and imperial acts as a museum of sorts to the O5 Council. Each entry tells a tragic story about each O5 exposition and how the administrator resolved to leave each empty until there was no more O5 Council. This feels like mainline melancholy, and I love it. 10 out of 10. It is a beautiful sadness. Dr. Eat's proposal, a test of character. A tour of 4 administrators' term as administrator of the Foundation, and witnessing the character and resolve needed to lead the Foundation and argue with the O5 Council when needed. The O5 Council is very ominous in this one. Not much else to say. 6 out of 10. The writer of this one has 2 cats named after Critical Role dragons. Say hi to the white one, Galadriel, the Nightmare in Ivory, Umbrasyl, the Hope Devourer, the black one on the left, and Terra, that sweet dog. And now we have the final IHP/Locke's proposal, Keter Duty. There's a non-Euclidean building that houses Keter-class entities and creates the necessary documentation explaining abilities, containment, and previous experimentation that hasn't been completed, but all of it is documented. If a Keter class entity is discovered, SCP-001 considers if it is necessary to be deemed Keter class to be contained within itself, and if it does deem it so, the item just appears inside a cell ready to contain it. Who and what is Alison Eckhart? I could not figure that one out. 5 out of 10, I'm going to be honest, I don't quite get the ending. But that is the end of the video. I have been reading SCP-001 proposals for the past 10 days. Oh, I wanted to stop so many times, but I couldn't let the internet horror writers win. Thank you all so much for watching. Go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you guys next time. Have a good night.